LOL. TTYL, BRB is the new form of writing today. Because creative writing, as we knew it, is dead. It's dying the same way conversation did to text. However, the reasons behind its downfall may not be what you think. But before I can tell you that story, I have to tell you this story. My story is about helping you to understand the true power of creative writing. I'm going to take you through my own journey of writing 2 books and receiving 2 awards. In my speech, I will explain why I wrote a book, how I wrote a book, and why you should write your own book. Let me start with why I wrote a book. The first reason behind my writing books was inspiration. Again, inspiration. At the age of 4, my mom had written and published 3 books, and my dad 1. And seeing them become so successful influenced me to do exactly what they did: write books. As you can see, inspiration is important. Basketball star LeBron James' son, Bronny, is one of the best basketball players in high school today. And President George H.W. Bush's son also became president, just like his father. And Beyonce, the hip-hop singer's daughter, Blue Ivy, won a Grammy Award, just like her mother, which validates the fact that writers are likely to be inspired into action by role models, especially their family. The second reason behind my writing books is I wanted to document my creative stories. Again, creative stories. At that carefree age of 6, I started with some silly ideas, written by hand. My favorite was how to build a bridge better than Bob the Builder, a 1-paragraph storybook that only a genius 6-year-old could produce. However, as I grew older, I moved on to more serious stories, like how to stop world hunger in 3 years. These are all the reasons why I decided to become an author, which brings me to my next point: how I wrote a book. One day, I experienced what linguists would call a light bulb moment. I thought of a question-answer book. So that night, when my mom was putting me to bed, I asked her, "Will you ever stop loving me?" She replied, "No." I asked her more variations to the question and wrote down her answer. And boom, there was my book. But that was only the beginning of my writing process. The first thing I did, which you can do as well, is to find an idea. Most writers plan their story. Others just write it all the way through. However, the first draft is something you don't want anyone to see. You'll revise it and edit it so many times, you'll become sick of your story. That's when you can send it to publishers. Successful fantasy author Shannon Hales put it this way, and quote, "I'm writing the first draft and simply reminding myself that I'm shoveling sand into a box, which I can later use to make castles." So if you thought writing a book was like a walk in the park, it's not, but it's definitely worth it. Now a word on publishers. According to the article What Publishers Hate by Ian Irvine, a major publishing company, for example, receives up to 150,000 manuscripts per year. But many major publishing companies don't accept unsolicited manuscripts, which means you have to get an agent to like your work and then submit it to the publishers for you. Do agents just take anyone? Well, according to Liminal Pages, a popular agency, for example, receives up to 15,000 manuscripts per year. Of those, only 10 get published. So your chances of getting your book in stores are, shall we say, slim? But that's still not a reason to give up, is it? When I sent my book to the publisher, she didn't drop down to her knees and declare me a genius. She called my manuscript anything but. That is why my book required lots of editing. Why is writing a book important? Well, that fact is supported by the millions of people whose lives were changed by the Bible, which, by the way, is the most read book in the entire world, according to Business Insider in June 2012. However, inspirational stories, fiction, or real life can change someone's life profoundly, which brings me to my last point: why you should write a book. I'm sure you all remember my first statement, that creative writing as we knew it was dead because people text all the time. Remember, LOL, BRB, and so on? Well, it's time to tell you that story. Many people today aren't as creative as they used to be. Some are obsessed with just playing all the video games, or others are obsessed with getting likes on TikTok or Twitter. What's the solution for this? I took the liberty of simplifying it for you in 3 words. See, read, and speak, or the SRS. We'll start with S. See. Seeing is believing. By see, I mean you stimulating your imagination. See is one of the reasons why I implore you to write a book. You can see things as they can become, which is imagination, which leads to creativity, which leads to innovation. Yes, innovation. Take the Apple iPhone, for example. It started off as a creative dream, which was then written down as technology blueprints, manuals, and more, and then became one of the wealthiest technologies in the entire world. And Albert Einstein so wisely said, and quote, "Creativity is seeing what everyone else has seen and thinking what no one else has thought." And now R, read. Writing a book will help you read like you've never read before. Your vocabulary will expand so much that it will help you with work. And writing makes you think like other authors, making it easier to read and understand books. And quote, "The person who deserves the most pity is the lonesome one on a rainy day who doesn't know how to read." That is a quote from Ben Franklin. Here's a personal version example. My favorite comic book is Miles Morales' Spider-Man. I've been reading it for a while now, and now I can understand how comic books are made, and I'm working on one of my own now. It's all because I read. And now the final S, speak. Writing on a consistent basis exercises your brain, increasing your ability to communicate and learn. After publishing, I spoke at schools, bookstores, and at award ceremonies. It will even help you do speech forensics better. Good communication skills are of crucial importance to your success as a student and citizen of the world, according to the College of Arts and Sciences. Writing is a way that will help you speak or express yourself better. Take Dolph Pilkey, the highly successful author of the Dog Man series, as an example. He wrote early stories, making it easier for him to speak about, which explains to you the SRS and why you should write a book. To summarize, I have spoken to you about why I wrote a book, by first explaining my backstory, how I wrote a book, by using a few steps, and why you should write a book, to improve your imagination, your reading ability, and your speaking ability. Writing a book can apply to all ages as it helps with innovation, composition, and communication. I'm sure many of you are wondering how we make sure creative writing doesn't die in a slow, disastrous way. But before I can tell you that story, you know what? I'll just tell you that story next time. Thank you. Oh, TTYO!